Hi, English students. This is Mrs. Peacock, and at this point, we need to talk about your last essay for English 102, which is the Hamlet essay. This type of essay argues a point of view about Hamlet, utilizing quotes and summaries of scenes as evidence. So notice here at the top of the topic sheet, I have an example of how to do in-text citation because plays have different in-text citation styles than the other works. So notice poems have the line number, prose would have page number, but for a play, you list the act, scene, and line number. So for this example, it's from Macbeth. It's from Act 3, Scene 3, lines 96 and 97. So your in-text citations for plays must have the act, the scene, and the line numbers, and they'll be in Arabic numerals separated by periods. So this is a good example to use as you're quoting from Hamlet, but if you have any other questions, please let me know. Your rough draft is due Wednesday, April 26th by midnight, and your final draft is due Monday, May 1st by midnight. Notice this final draft is due on Monday instead of Wednesday. Most of your assignments have been due on Wednesdays. However, with the end of the semester looming, we could not have it due that Wednesday. We had to have the final draft due the May 1st so that I could get all of the essays graded in time for your final grades. So notice that final draft is due on Monday and not Wednesday. If you have any questions, please let me know. Notice this essay is worth 20% of your final grade, and that your essay should be at least 800 words in length. So that's the minimum. Of course, if you go over, that's fine, but just make sure you meet that 800 word minimum. Your formatting is the same as always, 12-point Times New Roman font, double space with MLA heading and style. However, this one is a little different in that you have to have a works cited page with Hamlet cited. But the second page of this assignment has the citation created already, and you can copy and paste it into your paper. So, literally, right here, I've already done it for you. So, Merry Christmas. I've already done that citation for you. So just copy and paste it as is, because that's the citation from your textbook. Also notice I don't want any outside sources for this paper, and I'll explain why. I want to hear your interpretation of the play. I don't want to read the same online sources that I've read information about all these years. I want to know what your personal interpretation of the characters, the events of the play, the plot. I want to know what you thought about it personally, not what an outside source has to say. So I do not allow any outside sources for this assignment. So the only citation that'll be on that works cited page is for the play Hamlet. Also notice all topics must be based off of William Shakespeare's Hamlet. Even if you read Romeo and Juliet in high school or Macbeth or another play you like, you have to write about Hamlet for this class because that is the play that we've covered in 102 using that film version. Before we go over these topics, make sure you have finished the film because I'm going to explain some of these topics and it may plot spoil the ending. So if you've not seen the ending of the Hamlet film, please pause this and return because I want to make sure I don't plot spoil the play for you. For symbols that are in Hamlet, you could pick 3 symbols and focus on those for your body paragraphs because remember this is a 5-paragraph essay, so it'll help to have 3 symbols for each of those body paragraphs, a symbol for each body. Some major symbols within the play, of course, Yorick's skull, whenever Hamlet is in the graveyard and starts philosophizing about death as he's holding the jester's skull. So the skull is obviously symbolic of death in the afterlife. Ophelia's flowers is another major symbol. Whenever she commits suicide, she does cover herself in flowers and drowns herself. And flowers typically are symbolic of love, but with her, they're symbolic of death as well because that's what she covers herself in, death. And of course, she can philosophize about the nature of flowers. They're very frail, beautiful. So similar to Ophelia, where her mind was frail after her father's murder, also very beautiful. So of course, with symbols, it's really bringing in your own interpretation of what you think they symbolize, but I just want to give you some examples of major symbols within the play. Also, don't forget poison is a recurring symbol within this play. There's poison used on King Hamlet in the garden when he sleeps. Poison tips the sword, and that's how Hamlet and Laertes are murdered. There's poison in the cup that the queen drinks. So poison is a major symbol within the play. And I would say, from my own interpretation, poison is symbolic of nothing is as it seems. A sword isn't just a sword. a drink isn't just a drink. Even the nap in the garden can be deadly. So it's symbolic of the rottenness of Denmark and how everyone is scheming against one another, deception, that sort of thing. So, of course, there's other symbols within the play, but those are some of the major ones. But feel free to choose your own symbols. I just wanted to give you some examples. There's a lot of conflict in Hamlet. Of course, Hamlet's conflict is that he has to revenge his father's murder, and he's not sure how to do that. As a character, he's very uncertain on how to best revenge his father's murder. There's also conflict between kings. So Fortinbras of Norway combats Denmark and, of course, wins at the end. He becomes king. And so that conflict is pretty central. There's also the conflict of love. Ophelia's conflict within herself is another major conflict, and it drives her character. So depending on your angle, you can focus on conflict within the play. Choose a character in Hamlet and point out the character's motivation. What drives the character to action? Each character is motivated by different goals. So, of course, Claudius, the king, was motivated by his ambition to become king, also for his love for the queen. And so you could focus on his motivation. Hamlet's motivated by his love for his father and having to revenge his murder. Laertes becomes motivated by a similar situation whenever Hamlet kills Polonius. Then Laertes also has to revenge his father's murder. Ophelia is motivated by the love she has for the men in her life, Hamlet, Laertes, and her father. And so her character is motivated by love. So it just really depends on which character you want to focus on which motivation you would really analyze within that character. There are several themes within Hamlet. Pick one theme and point out how that theme drives the plot of the play. So, of course, a major theme is revenge, and it recurs several times within the play, not just Hamlet, but Laertes and Fortinbras. Fortinbras is revenging King Hamlet's victory over his father. And so revenge is a major theme. Also love, death. Those are some of the ones that recur several times within the play. So depending on which theme you choose, that will help you focus on an aspect of the play. Ophelia's character changes throughout the play. Describe how the Ophelia the audience meets at the beginning of the play is much different than the one in the play's conclusion. What changes her? So Ophelia is an example of what's called the fallen woman. She is a woman who loses her virginity before marriage and has dire consequences from that. And during the time period of this play, it was considered common for authors to fit in that moral consequence for women who were considered the fallen woman, the ones that did lose their virginity before marriage or made choices that would have been deemed immoral for the time period. So, but she also is one of those tragic characters where she loves the men in her life so much that whenever Hamlet, the one she loves romantically, kills her father, she doesn't know what to do with herself anymore. She loses her sanity and loses her ability to make choices, other than the choice to commit suicide. So she's a character that whenever students analyze her, it becomes so interesting because, of course, we all bring in our own interpretation of her as a person too, based off our own experiences. So that's a very popular topic. There are characters that experience similar situations in Hamlet. Pick 3 characters and point out their similarities and their differences. So, of course, death of fathers is a common theme within this. We've got King Hamlet's death for Hamlet, Prince Hamlet, but then we also have Polonius's death for Laertes and Ophelia, and they all react differently to the death of fathers. Hamlet is very introspective and takes a while to seek his revenge, whereas Laertes immediately is ready to lead a rebellion against the king. And then Ophelia, of course, loses her mind over her father's murder. So also, you could use that topic as a way to focus on ambition of kings. King Claudius, of course, acts in that he murders his own brother to become king. Hamlet is driven to also become king as well. Ultimately, if he kills King Claudius, he would have become king, so you could argue that that was partly because of his own succession. And then Fortinbras ultimately becomes king because he goes about it in a less deceitful manner. He does the traditional becoming king by conquering the kingdom. And so that's an example of how you could use that topic. And the rest of this is pretty common knowledge by this point. It's 10 points off every day a final draft is late. And this will be graded using your same grading rubric you've got used to at this point, and then it'll also be scanned with anti-plagiarism software. So just make sure that you do not plagiarize, only write your own ideas in this paper, and we will be good to go. Please let me know if you have any questions, and I hope you have a great day. Thanks.